My homie sent this to me because he loves this fella. Day nine of StarCraft fame. Even I know that you know this dude is esports because I know him. But this video is called "Why the Fighting Game Community is Remarkable."
Let me explain to you what I love about the fighting game community.
That's a great way to start, man.
The fighting game community, I think, historically been the most crapped on community from developers and publishers in the history of gaming and esports.
That's a powerful. We've only been 15 seconds in, so I think there are layers to this game. There's layers to this game. If you're a Smash person, I know Smash people. Shouts to my Smashers. I know Smash people watch me occasionally, so you're just like, yeah. It's just like,
yes sir, yes sir.
Right? That's a Smasher watching this, right? If you play 2D, it kind of varies and it depends on how old you are. Cause like if you're a newer fighting game player, like let's say you're playing SF6, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like besides not fixing throw loops, I feel pretty seen. You know, DLCs coming out consistently. There's always big events, VTubers, $1 million being thrown around every year. You're chilling, right? But if you're older, especially if you're older, once upon a time, you couldn't even get the video game. And what I mean is that, like, I don't have any here. I've made videos about this before, about like how the cycle of what gets released has changed over time. And probably the number one difference between, let's say 10 years ago compared to now, is that you can't even conceive a world where the game doesn't come out the same day everywhere. One of the biggest advantages you could have in a fighting game would be living somewhere with an arcade that has cabinets. I was very lucky that there were 2 real arcades within 2 hours of where I live. So one of the reasons I was good at BlazBlue was because I played it early, because there was an arcade that it was out maybe 2 weeks after it came out on arcade. That arcade got it. I grinded there with homies. Like the homie Giuna, the homie Nas, Lord Stickbug. We would just play the game. I would go by myself and play this shit. And then that's what came out in November. So how much? I think that means we had it 8 months in advance, because I believe BlazBlue Calamity Trigger came out in June of 2009, right? So that's a massive advantage. Another aspect you could probably talk about too is just prize pools. You know, like a lot of people. The price pools were just higher in other games and fighting games for a very, very, I mean, honestly, still. No?
Like, you know, there's all these major events for Counter-Strike and StarCraft, you know, Riot.
When you say major, it's definitely from the dev-supported perspective.
Runs the League of Legends Championship Series. And like Nintendo is sitting with sniper rifles trained at the heads of people organizing Smash Melee events and shit.
Called it, right?
Like, I mean, it is like so insane to me how like historical little support that has happened for fighting games from a lot of developers and publishers.
Smash is obviously the front runner, but there's so many other examples of, like, you know, SF4 also is considered to be like the fighting game renaissance, like when fighting games came back in a big way, and it's true. But like it's like Capcom really didn't really do shit. Like they came out with TBC also. I don't know when exactly TBC came out. All I know is that it was at 2010 Evo. Right, so like they weren't really putting out shit, but then other companies were putting stuff out, but they were all Japan focused. So another thing they used to do, you know how a lot of people are like, this game is dead on Steam charts, right? So like Steam charts is the line of like how many people are playing. But what they used to do was, and I forget how they fucking did it, but they would have in our Arcadia magazine, they would have like the most played games. Somehow, I don't know how they calculated it, but they would let you know the rankings. This was actually my first hopium as an anime player, because usually the top 3 was a Gundam game, whatever Gundam game is fucking out right now. The next 2 are an interchange between an anime fighter and Tekken. Every fucking month. Right? When Street Fighter 4 came out, of course Street Fighter 4 came up. Like when Persona came out, it was like the number 1 game. There were times where BlazBlue is the number 1 game. There are times where SF4 is the number 1 game. But that was like my hopium. I was like, man, the games are sick, but like if they just would come out with like an anime that people knew, like when Kill la Kill came out, I was like, why don't they make a Kill la Kill anime fighter? And then like 2018, they came out with the Arena Fighter, and I was like, bro, trolling. ArcSys got a bag for it, but like they must have known that shit was dead on arrival. You know what I mean? I thought this during Exert too. I think I told this story before, but in the middle of Exert, I believe it was actually after a Winter Clash Puerto Rico tournament where I played Marlin Pie in an exhibition. I was reading the footage from the exhibition. I'm like, yo, for all the flame I give to Exert, especially like while I'm actively playing it, I'm like, this game is so sick. It's so fast. Like the music is great. Like what can be done, and I'm one of those people who don't think that like making the game accessible necessarily is the reason why people don't play. Like if the game is hard but it has recognizable characters that people like and things like that to get people into the game, it's gonna succeed. And then they announced DBFZ and I was like, even if I hate this game, even if I think this game sucks, there will not be another opportunity like this as a fighting game player for such a long time. And I hated Dragon Ball at the beginning. All the shit that people are getting hyped for is just because it's Cell and Goku. And if it was fucking anime girl B versus edgy guy C, they would not give a fuck. And then Kizzy saved me and told me to play Trunks. And now I'm here.
That's basically how the fighting game community has created its events over the last 25 years. There's no money, there's no time, there's no support, and again...
There's time. It's one of the three. There's time. There's plenty of time.
Nintendo has trained snipers on the ceiling.
He's talking only about Smash, though.
Where if you even wear a Mario hat, you're done. And yet...
Wait. Okay. You know what a fucking terrible timeline would be, but it could be this one if Nintendo had their way, especially for my Florida bros in here. You know how Disney fucking bans people from dressing like the characters at Disney World? I bet Nintendo fucking wish they stopped the Mario Kart thing before. Remember, like one of the things that people were like, "Oh my god, Japan is the GOAT," is like you could play Mario Kart like in real life, and Nintendo was like, nah. They call it Disney bounding, I believe. That you dress like a Disney character, pretty much, but like in normal clothes, because you can't fucking wear the shit.
Somehow, out of sheer willpower, they've created one of the most rich, beautiful, like, it's insanely incredible community of events that, for someone like me that just doesn't really play fighting games, every time I see one of those events automatically shown to me on Twitch on the front page, it is like the only time that the Twitch front page shows me something that I sit there and finish.
You know an interesting thing about Smash specifically though, they did get a lot of support from Twitch. They don't get like that. I mean, Nintendo does stuff now, I feel like, with Ultimate, but like Twitch pretty much the reason why Melee is such a loved game, I want to say. Like to the extent that it is. Yeah, a lot of Smash players worked at Twitch too, so that definitely helped too.
Everything's hype, and of course I'm looking, and there's those chairs that like even a hotel ballroom that's on a discount wouldn't use chairs that are that garbage. They're playing on a crappy 4x3 bubble screen monitor. There's just cords everywhere. There's like just tape on the ground covering up nails that are sticking up from the stage. And people are like, let's go! And they like got signs and they're waving them around like, oh my god.
I feel like I didn't, well, they had Melee at a lot of FGC events too, but like, I will say they grew their own, like, biggest events quite a bit since 2013. Like, the events grew enough that they could scale it up to, like, big stuff, so. I don't know how many events were that grassroots, you know what I mean?
And so, like, genuinely, sincerely, I feel like every community can learn from the fighting game community how to make events awesome out of sheer willpower, baby. And if you ever want me to play a fighting game, it does seem like a big time commitment. I don't know. I just feel like I'll be pretty bad at fighting games. Like,
boot up. Everyone says StarCraft is harder. You can do it.
I just love the image of the entire fighting game community coming together and being like, we must create a Smash Melee event. And then they go,
I don't know about the whole community. I don't know about the whole community, but.
Yeah, that's the fighting game community right there, man.
That was good. That was wholesome, though. There's no flame there. It's just funny, like, the first sentence I heard, I was like, he's probably going to talk about Smash. And this should be probably the most important thing. If you play either 2D fighters or 3D fighters like Tekken or something, you got to remember, for someone who does not play fighting games, Smash is a fighting game, man. They will say that. Between not only just people who aren't in the community, business people, they just are like, yeah, dude, but I'm super into FGC. I'm really into like games like Smash. And they just hit you. You might be like, okay, how do you feel? You don't need my opinion, bro. Make your own opinion. Why do people say Smash is not a fighting game? Good question. There's a few reasons why. I think I'm a very unique person in the way that I started with Melee and I played Brawl and I switched to 2D fighters like Melty. It's not enough to say that I started with Melee. Like, I worked really hard. I would say I was lowercase g good at Melee. When I was playing, that's when power rankings started. So the highest ranking I got in my state was 3rd, and this state had Mewtwo King, who's always 1st. So it was a competitive state to play this video game in. I technically would say that Smash is a fighting game. However, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences. And I think it's the best way to describe it is that platform fighting is its own genre. So the same way we split up 2D and 3D, that you should also split up platform fighters. Because just like 2D games and 3D games, platform fighters have their own set of fundamentals. But if you play a 2D game or a 3D game, there's stuff you can carry to Smash from that. Because it has a lot of the same stuff. So lots of neutral, advanced situations, disadvantaged situations. The main obvious differences is that your win condition is different. You have to take lives, not eliminate their life bar. The mix-up style is different, is drastically different. That's probably the hardest part, and it's easier to tell a Smash person how to do a mix-up in a 2D fighter than it is to tell a 2D fighter player how to do a mix-up in Smash. And then the other biggest difference between Smash and fighters is that there's legitimately more formats to play than in a 2D or 3D fighter. So generally, you enter a tournament in like Guilty Gear, you sit down, you play against, sit down, Naruto Fan 69, picks HC with the pink color, you pick May Guilty Gear, you do your 3 out of 5, you move on. That's the main thing. We have different formats like auction tournaments and then like team tournaments where it's like a mini crew battle or something. But in Smash, you have legitimate 2v2 that's built into the game. So there's a different format with that, and Ultimate has I believe it's called Squad Strike. So they have more formats for tournaments in 2D and 3D fighters, but 2D and 3D fighters were made with 1v1 in mind, pretty much. Where Smash is a party game, so it's a party game, so it makes sense. There's all this shit you could do and toggles you could do and shit. And then the last one is that stage matters way more in Smash than basically any other game that I played. What is the hardest fighting game in your opinion? All of the above. Because what happens when you get good at them is that everyone knows what they're doing. There's a lot of stuff that's hard to deal with. The game has a thing that's difficult about it, and it's just hard. It is crazy to me that Tekken does random stage when there are stage differences. I think that's just legacy shit from arcades, so that's why they do that. But then I think they also do stuff about stages every new game. Like Tekken 8 doesn't have infinite stages like Tekken 7. And I believe there's a new stage now in Tekken 8, but I don't know what type of stage it is. But I don't really know if there's people. I'm sure there's Tekken players who are like, fuck this. To be honest. And actually, one of the things that made me sad about not being able to pick stages in Tekken matches is like, I like the music, so in Tekken 6, I get sad because I can't pick Lightning Storm over and over. I feel like Tekken would benefit from stage bans. That would be an interesting addition, but I mean, definitely a thing I feel from Tekken. I don't know if this is true or not, but because there's so much time between each game, I think Tekken resists changes in new games and a lot of other games.